I love that intro. I really do. It reminds me of Bewitched. That's why I made it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Cards. My name is Bobby Fierro, and I am a tarot card reader, a tarot teacher, and just an all around cool dude. This segment is where I interview people in the tarot industry, in the spiritual industry. I've interviewed authors, deck creators, artists, and readers. And today we have somebody who is a little bit of everything. Lennan Smith is going to be joining us today. Let's bring her on. Hey, girl, what's up? How you?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Bobby.
I'm so excited to have you on here. I am a fan. Just I love
Oh, thank
watching
you.
your videos. And what I didn't know, because I was watching the witchcraft videos, I didn't know you were so into Thoth. And I told you backstage, I was telling her that last night I was reading my study material for Thoth, and I put on videos, and I'm tarot symbolism, trying to find a good one, and I found one that said tarot symbolism, Thoth symbolism. So I clicked it without really looking at the thumbnail, but it was her video. It was so. Uh, how did you? Before we get into behind the cards and the questions, I want to ask you real quick before to give people a chance to trickle in.
Okay.
How did you get started with Thoth Tarot?
Well, like most of us, I started with RWS. And my very first tarot deck was actually the Aquarian Tarot by David Palladini that I was given. I was just handed to at a yard sale once. So that was my very first tarot deck, and I knew it was. I knew I had a resonance for it, and the lady that was doing the yard sale just knew something that I needed it or something. And she just handed it to me and was like, okay, take it. And it could have been one of those myths, that you see, like you have to be given your first deck.
Yeah.
Well, it was back when, and she probably had that, that myth in her head, like, oh, she looks interested. I must give this to her. But anyway, so, and it sat in a drawer for so long. And then I didn't do anything with it. And then I acquired an RWS somewhere and I thought, you know what? I need to go into this. And then I went into it. And then it wasn't long after that I just picked up the Thoth, probably I think it was at a bookstore actually. And
Did it
I,
scare you?
no,
Me
no,
either.
I've never. Um, but I was the one that was never scared of the witch either, even though I was
Mm.
told to be. So it didn't scare me. The art, as an artist myself, the art hooked me right away. It was a hook, line, and sinker. I fell in love with it. And it really wasn't until I got the Book of Thought that I knew that there was all kinds of occultism and the Crowley thing. I never really understood that when I first grabbed the deck.
Yeah.
Um, but even then, like I had already fallen in love with the art and the way that it was the deck itself was laid out. I appreciated for the changes, the subtle changes that you could see right off, going off of the RWS. I could tell that there was changes, and I kind of liked them, like lust and stuff like that, and the way that
Right.
some of the cards were portrayed, and especially the differences in the minors, how they're kind of pippy, but really felt into them.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Thoth was it became such a love. And then when I got the Book of Thoth, I really dove and studied and studied and studied. And I did it in a way. When I started YouTube, I started talking about Thoth more and more because not a lot of tarot tubers back then were talking about Thoth because of the scare tactic.
Yeah.
But I started talking about it as a way to think, like I'm not a Thelemite, I'm not in the OTO. I'm just a girl with a deck that I love, and let's talk about it. And I've always been a pretty insightful, intuitive person. So I could always kind of tell what the symbols were, even though there's all kinds of Thelema and, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn stuff on it. I mean, people like to know that stuff, but in reality, I was just a girl that loved the deck, and I could
Yeah.
kind of pick out what the symbols were and meant to me and stuff. And I've always been I always tried to be very transparent about that on my channel, about having Thought Thursdays, being transparent about the fact that these are, my views.
Yeah, your thought videos are my new favorite thing. I'm telling you now. there's
I've got a
there's
lot. I've got a lot out there. Yeah.
there's like 3 people I watch with Thoth.
Mhm.
You, oh gosh, I can't remember their names. It's gonna bother me. I can visualize one guy has all these scrolly things next to his name, and then Joe Montal.
Montavillon, yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
watch his
got a new
videos
book
too.
out, actually.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Thoth in a while, because it's going to play into the questions today. But let's say hi to a few people right before we
Yeah.
dig in. Now that we've had some people,
Yeah. I see Nancy and Heather and Ange and
yeah, there's Heather and Maru. Let's go down a little bit. Who do we got? Who do we got? Yes. Oh, Immaculate Immortality. I just ordered it.
oh, you did? That makes me
I
so happy.
did. It's coming. And
Oh,
for those who don't know, Lennan is an author as well and has several books out available on YouTube. I have the links in my description, I believe. And uh the more intuitive me, I always get your name wrong. Is it Rochelle? I hope so. We'll find out. Let me know, love. All right. And the biggest troublemaker in the land right here. And Miss Nance is here. There's Miss Nance. You did say her name. And we got several people. I'm so happy you could all join us. Oh, look who's here. Harrison. This is my apprentice, Lennon. This is he is soaking up tarot like I've never had a student that soaks it up like this before.
don't you just love that?
I do, and I'm telling everybody he's just soaking it up so easily. It's fluid for him, and yeah, I'm very proud to be associated with him. And his dad is the best Reiki dude in town.
Oh, well, good luck to you.
Alexis.
Hey, Alexis, I just saw you on Ange's channel, I think.
Yeah. And I believe that is everybody that has joined us for now. Okay. So everybody knows, hide the current comment. There we go. Everybody knows what behind the cards is. So let's get to it. Please, everybody watching, if you have questions, are you okay with doing a little Q&A at the end, Lennon?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Then if you have questions throughout, save them, and we will be asking at the end, or if it's a really good question, throw it out. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. Okay. Where are we? Here we go. The Fool is where we start off. The Fool, new beginnings, innocent, purity, adventure, and rebellion. Where did your story start? Where did your spiritual journey begin?
Overall?
Overall, I want the very beginning. I want what started your love of spirituality.
Well, I've always been a spiritual person. When I was a child, I climbed trees to be one with the clouds. Okay, I was a daydreamer.
I love that.
And I had such a love to be with myself. Not to sound like that. To be with myself in my own thoughts. I loved that. I like to just be by myself, and I would climb under the muscadine vines and just kind of eat and think, right, as a child. And so I did that a lot, and it started me on this kind of intuitive, I could read people and read human nature, and I grew up kind of that way, and I was always kind of quirky because of it. Now I grew up in a faction of Christianity that was pretty severe on that kind of stuff. Daydreamy, kind of quirky. They wanted you to be straight and narrow, and it was a branch of Christianity that didn't have me in mind, okay, or a lot of people in mind, to be honest with
Right.
you. And so I grew up very much sad because of that, and just kind of hiding my pagan like self that I always was. And then eventually I succumbed to paganism to start off. I severed myself from the, that's more of a chariot question, really, come to think of it. But I guess the very beginning was that I was kind of a loner and kind of quirky, but kind of dramatic, and I turned my love of nature and daydreaming into an intuitive pagan practice. That's, if you want to go, like, that's the very, very beginning.
That is a great beginning. I used to climb trees and I would feel the energy in the tree. I remember being a kid, like 8 years old, up at the very top of the tree, which I had no business being there. Um, and I could feel, I knew I was raised with witches.
Mm-hmm.
My family has always been very magical, brujas going back.
Mm-hmm.
So I understood the concept of energy as a kid.
Yeah, and
And I,
interconnectedness, and
and
having
I,
having been taught that. Wow, that's
Yeah, I used to imagine that what I was feeling was the dryad that lived inside the
oh,
tree, and that I would feel her energy. That was my favorite game to play, and I would talk to the trees and everything.
me too.
Uh,
Mine was a sweet gum, and I consider it still to this day my ritual tree because
oh,
it soaked up so many of my tears and my blood from scraping my knee, and I had ropes. My dad was into he was kind of a handyman, so he put ropes in the trees, and so I knew how to like Tarzan from way up high all the way down below, and um, so yeah, it was a sacred space for me.
I got so into hearing your story, I forgot about the questions.
I'm sorry. Um,
uh, no,
now I am gonna rabbit. Okay,
let's go
I'm gonna
on to the
drag
next
squirrel.
card.
So,
No, I enjoy hearing you talk. It's fantastic. Anybody who watches my show knows that I squirrel like a mofo. It just happens. All right. So the magician is the great manifester, but he's also the great communicator. Was it difficult telling those around you about your spiritual side and what your beliefs were?
I'm largely still in the broom closet about that. Or what I would like to say, I'm still in the belfry with the bats. Okay, I don't like to really use. Um, so much of my family has no idea. I still get lectured quite a lot about what I should be doing spiritually, and they really do. I think a lot of my family still think that I had turned like away from church and away from God, and I'm atheist now or whatever. Like they try so hard to convert me back to what I grew up in, and they had no idea. And sometimes when I first moved into a house of my own, I wanted to kind of put things out that would represent my witchiness.
Mm.
And whenever my parents would come over, like they would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in the area," or it's a get together or something or a barbecue. I would like hide things, and I still live that kind of way where I only have one corner of my house that could be considered inherently spiritual or witchy, even though my whole house is I've made it my altar. Now my husband is very open. I've been married for 18 years to him, and I've known him for 21, and he's always kind of known that he's kind of he would kill me if I said this, but he's kind of psychic. He can read me, and he always has been able to. And so when I just really came out and talked to him about all of this, he was like, "Yeah, I already know all this."
He's like, duh.
Yeah, like he was like, "Tell me something I don't know."
It's like
Um,
the real femme guy telling his parents, I'm gay. And they're like, shocker. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, and it never felt like I was pulling off skin to tell him. Um, so I mean, and he was really easy about whatever I wanted to do. I mean, hell, one time for my channel, I married the craft. Not for my channel, but on my channel. I had like a wedding where I married witchcraft.
Mhm.
And he like went to the store and bought me a little cake, like he's pretty smart,
Oh, that's love.
Yeah, so he's pretty supportive in like whatever. He's been riding the waves of my quirk for almost 20 years. So, like,
Yeah.
but my parents, no, maybe my closest sibling. I've got five. My sister, whom I'm probably closest with, she gets it. I've put my toe in the water with her, but my mom would probably have a heart attack. And I'm not. I mean, I'm not even joking. I can't talk to her about it. And I know that it's not acceptable to the large part of my family. So,
So here's the thing. My family, my blood family knows. It's like, yeah, okay. Not
yeah.
even a thing. Um, my husband's family, we've been married together for 25 years. They're mega and uber Christian.
Mm,
And they just recently found out about me. So I've been in the broom closet with his side of the family forever.
mm.
But I think they saw one of my videos and the response was, "How long has he been doing that? It's okay." And that was it. It was weird, and we left it, and it's never been addressed. So,
They do like to throw things under the rug, don't they?
yeah,
They
yeah,
don't want to just air. I mean, okay. I will say I was raised to not air your dirty laundry out. Okay, I was raised in that Southern simplicity, but there's something to be said about just airing it out. Just not full blown, but like we get together, we'll throw a steak on the grill or whatever, a tofu burger, whatever you eat, and we'll sit down and just hash it out. And
it, it
I can't even do that because
it
I.
was a relief to tell you the truth. It
Mhm.
was all right, fine, it's out. Now we're gonna
Right.
deal with it, but we never dealt with it. So I'm just going on and seeing what happens. And I've been a witch and a tarot reader for 40 years, and I'm still in the broom closet sometimes, with certain things. But
Yeah.
yeah, so let's see. The next card up, we have the High Priestess, the lady. Oh, I love the High Priestess. She represents intuition, mysteries, and the subconscious mind. The question I have for you, was tarot the first divinatory tool that you used?
um.
Because I
No.
tell the story that my first divinatory tool was a shoelace and a key for a makeshift dowsing rod when I was like 6.
Okay. That's so funny. Um. All right. This is gonna sound crazy, but when I was growing up, we had one bathroom, and the tub was a tub shower combination, and the door of that was a mirror, like a sliding glass door, but it was a
Yeah,
mirror.
I know the kind you're talking about.
Right. Okay. So I would sit on the toilet and stare at myself, right? But I would look into the color part of my eye and I would get visions. Okay. I've always really gotten visions. So that was one of the first, which was probably my eyeballs as tools. But
Yeah.
I have long hair. So I can't believe I'm about to tell you this. Um, I sometimes scry with the hair on the wall of the shower.
Oh, that's
And
a good idea.
I've
Oh,
done that my entire life. So
that's water scrying, and yeah,
yeah, kind of, yeah. Like
it kind of is.
if it's on my hand and I kind of just rub it on the wall, and sometimes I see a face, sometimes I
I
see a
love
bird,
that.
like, and
I do the same thing with the fog from the mirror on the shower.
yeah,
If I see
yeah,
an image in the fog,
yeah.
that's
Oh, I mean, you can do it with so much, but
yeah, you
yeah, I think in terms of, well, because I've always been intuitively drawn to symbolism like that, yeah, and Moira, she touched on something too.
yeah,
Cloud
clouds
scrying.
scrying.
I would lay out, I would lay out my yard,
I
and
still do.
that's me too. And that's one of the first time I was probably 15 was the first time I saw my dragon, and it was a big dragon, and he covered the whole sky, and
Ooh.
he I've got a picture of him. Okay, I'll send it to you. I've got a picture of him, and he's visited me. He visits me all the time, and somewhere in the back of my head, I know that it's like my dragon, and he comes when I need him to this dimension. He kind of shoves himself up to this dimension by being, turning himself into a cloud or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't
Well,
talk about him a lot, but yeah.
that
So
reminds me of the three demons of Hecate, the three
mhm.
realms. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll touch on that in a bit too, because I have a question about that for you. I
All
should have
right.
asked you. Oh, we're on the High Priestess. Yes, I'm going to ask you now. Uh,
Okay, what?
there's a wicked rumor flying around. Well, first of all, let me start by saying that my friend Chris and Ken have this deck out, the Oracle of the Hecatean Path, which is
Mm-hmm.
my go-to oracle. I am a
And
follow.
it's like
I
the only one on the market for her.
Yes, I follow Hecate, but there's a wicked rumor flying around that you want to create a Hecate tarot.
I do. Um, I
I
came up.
shit myself when I heard that. I'm not gonna lie, I did.
I I mapped out a book that, I don't know, it was roughly, I don't know, 200 pages, and it went through the whole tarot like in one night. I went through the whole tarot. I didn't write anything, but I went through and designated most of her epithets to the major arcana. And I like that oracle, it does some of her epithets too, but I've designated most of her epithets to a major, and then I designated one epithet for each minor, like one subsequent epithet. Like the torchbearer would be the torches, which would be the wand suit, and then I've got what are the other suits? I got the torches, the blades for swords, and I want to do probably, I don't know, I already have it written down, but anyway, so I've got all the suits and all the epithets, and it just felt so her. It really felt so her to have each of her epithets be a major arcana, and then to have like one overarching for the minors, and then the quartz was like, I don't even know if I could pull it. I mean, I probably got some. Sorry. I probably got something here that touches on all this. I don't know. Maybe.
Everybody, like Selena, saying the same thing. Essence of the Moon. She's shitting herself too. Now that she heard that,
Well,
it's
I,
an exciting concept.
yeah, and I've got. Well, see, the words were coming. The words were coming, and I thought, okay, I can do this. Like what's the world eater, the world soul, right? The anima mundi of her, the world soul, the Hote
Mhm.
Sophia would be the world card, right? Like I can do this. It's and but she's proving through me, through the experience of just like this preliminary period, that she was like, I really want you to work hard. Don't just you know do something generic. Okay, do it.
Yes,
She really wants
meaningful.
it to be for her. And a lot of my uh, creative endeavors, like I did my Dirty Offering Oracle and my Immaculate Immortality book, they're all dedicated to forms and faces of the goddess that I actively work with. So they want them as offerings. So I can't just do something generic. And I don't know about the art. I really want the art to look like ancient cave drawings.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
Something very, I want it to feel, I want her to feel ancient, and I want her to feel raw in the art. And I did want it to be minimally colored, but I might change it up. I might, she might want something different once I start in on the art portion of it. So
I'm
yeah.
excited, and everybody is excited at the prospect that this could be coming out. And
Yeah.
please stick with that. Let's go on to our next card, which is the Empress. This is fertility, uh, beauty, and abundance. Now, my question for you here is, in what ways do you nurture your spiritual self?
Okay, well, I'm an
It's a
introvert.
broad question.
Yeah,
Go
I
for it.
know. But right off the top of my head, I'm an introvert. So I have what I consider must-haves for myself. And I've talked a couple of times about this on the channel probably is I have my music zone out times where I'll literally feel the need. I need to be by myself. And I'll tell my entire household, I'm like, okay, tonight is my music night. And I put on my headphones and whatever playlist, usually I go through a couple of my playlists and I'll just stand on my back deck, stand up and look at the sky, which I've got like, trees and sky. And I'll just look and stare off into space and stand there for about 2 hours and I usually have some kind of internal clock because I kind of know, okay, this is bedtime or he's got to get in the bath at this time. And so I kind of have an internal clock, but I shove out that block of time to just stare off into space.
I love that.
I have nothing else to do but stare. And maybe I'll get an idea. I usually have one of my composition notebooks. I always have one of those handy. So it's like sitting on the table with a pencil, and then like if I get a grand idea, I'll just jot it down while I'm listening. But mostly I do those. I have something where like if it's the weekend, when my kids were little, and now that I've had the new baby, I don't have that anymore. But there was a time where I could have what you could consider let me wake up organically. Don't wake me up. Where I would wake my consciousness would come about, and you know how that dream wants to slip away, and you just stay there and you let it sit there in the mind, in the bed. You're gaining consciousness, but it's very slow. And when I'm not getting woken up, and I can do this organically, I can pull the dream back up into that kind of REM to where I can actually write about it in my dream journal. It doesn't happen all the time, but I have this kind of plan with my family. I have to communicate that with them. And then sometimes I just have to block out the time, but mostly I have my notebooks handy for ideas and thoughts, journaling and stuff like that. And then I designate times to come over to Sacred Space if I have something to do in terms of magic working. But yeah, I think in terms of my spiritual practice, I just kind of block out what I need to block out.
That solitude is necessary. There's an aspect of Hecate called Philermos, the lover of solitude.
That's the hermit card.
Yeah, that's the hermit card. That's just telling everybody to fuck off. I need to be alone right now.
Yeah,
it's funny, but when
it's really needed.
I remembered something right now is that my scrying happens for me naturally in an unavoidable way if I'm not careful when I do dishes.
Yeah.
I have to sing or talk or something, because if I'm quiet and I'm doing dishes, visions, psychic, and it can
it gets you. Your filter goes down. When you do meditative works like that, like for me, it's laundry. For me, it's like the repetitive things.
The repetitive motion.
And you can do it, like scrubbing the tub, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, mopping the floor, like something that you're doing where your body's kind of doing it for you. You don't really have much to think about it. That's the psychic filter goes down.
It does.
And you just get all kinds of downloads.
Miss Tarot D journals on her phone, and so do I. I do the same thing because I don't always have my journal with me, and I've got a really bad memory from smoking weed all my life. So the next card up is the Emperor, which signifies authority, structure, leadership. It's the structure part we're talking about right here. Girl, you do so much. You're busy. You had a video that you put out recently of things that you're planning on doing this year. And I was like, this bitch, is she serious? That's a lot of stuff. I was like, what? And I felt lazy just watching the
No,
video.
no,
I was like, oh my
no, no.
gosh.
I would never want someone to think that. I I'm in my creative awakening right now. Okay. This is not my productivity for the last 10 years. Okay. uh, the my creative endeavors 5 years ago were nothing compared to what I'm doing now. But that's just because I truly believe I'm in some kind of creative awakening where I've got so many ideas. I've got so many research topics. I've got so much going out, coming in and wanting to go out. I put out a deck this year. I've got 5 books out. I've got 4 or 5 coming out this entire year. Um, it's going to be a feral, for just a little of a sneak peek, it's going to be a feral spring for Lennan. Okay. So just so y'all know that. And I write constantly anyway. So it's just something that's always been on the back burner. I've never used it before, used my productivity in these ways. But inside of this awakening, I do feel overwhelmed. Okay, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I do get overwhelmed and I'm like, okay, I need to just not think about the things I want to do. Put this down, put that down, put this down, and read a smutty book, right? Which will take me about 2 days, right? Give or take. So I'll just let it all go and open one of my smutty books and read some smut, and then I'm back, and then I'm back, and but about the structure, it's just about blocking out the time, because I've got the baby, I've got the family, I've got the husband, whatever. And it can be quite stressful because you want to put everything you have into your creativity. Okay. You really do. And back before I had children, I devoted long periods of time to my art, to my poetry, long periods of time to think about it and to really think about my brush strokes. And now it's not so much that I hurry those things. I just have to block out and spread it out more than I used to be able to. So it's
The link to her deck, Miss Maruta just put it up, so please check it out. And I don't think I have that one in the description. Um, you make it sound easy and difficult at the same time. That's a
well,
lot of stuff, girlfriend. You've
well,
you've
and mostly see in that video I was talking about mostly books I wanted to read. I think like I I'm currently in Witches Black Lint, which is a
there
practice
was
that I do with other witches. But that's just something kind of a personal thing, tradition
te-
slash practice. And
can you
then
tell them what the black lint is?
well, for those of you who don't know, Witches Black Lent, we're in Lenten season right now. Okay, according to the Christians. And what my friend Jasmine and my friend Trish have done is they've subverted it into a Lenten feast instead of a fast. And we don't really know why witches haven't caught on to this before, probably for the backlash that they could get for this. But we basically turn it into the witch's black lent, which is where we're feasting on it. We pick a sin, one of the 7 deadly sins, and we try to initiate ourselves into working with that sin in a way to in positive ways when we need those things, because sins are something that comes very naturally to people, to everyone. Most sins come very naturally to us. So to have the church tell us that they are wrong never made sense to people like us that practice the Black Lent. So we take the sin, like for instance, last year mine was greed, and it was all about teaching myself what I deserve, where I would be self-sacrificing when it wasn't necessary. And I would be like, oh, I can't have, new shoes, even though my shoes have holes in them. I can't have new shoes because I need to do this. And it was all about me. I can take things for myself. So it's just a subversion, and it's been a very profound practice for myself for the last couple of years. So, and some of the things that my plans and consist of that. It's just something that I'm, a blanket that I add onto my spiritual practice, but it's not really anything extra that I would be doing. It's
It's
just
a very cool thing. It's a very cool concept to repurpose something that the traditional church has told us is bad.
right.
Like you say, we all have lust, we all have this, we all have that. Yeah. So our next card, Ange had to bail because she's got a show coming up.
Oh, well, have fun,
But
man.
I'll have to watch it on repeat, my love. All right, so the Hierophant is our next card on our journey, and this represents tradition, spirituality, and teaching. It's also a difficult card that witches and psychics and readers tend to say this was the most difficult card for me to get to know.
Mhm.
Can you expand more on the path you follow? What
Okay.
tradition do you follow?
Well, I don't think I do. Most people would probably argue against that. I I consider myself a folk witch, but the majority of my practice is probably more spiritual than it is witchy. I don't even know if I like saying that, but
I'm
I
a
would say,
messenger witch.
yeah,
I'm a yeah.
I
I'm
would
a
say,
messenger witch. I work in the intermediary. I stand in
yeah,
between everything, and yeah,
right.
it's a whole
Same,
thing.
same. And I mean, I think that my path finds me on it. So if I have to change, if my path has had to change, then I'm okay with changing it up. I've never been one to care um, about changing it if I need to. But I'm a solitary pagan folk witch. That's
I'm a
probably my
solitary Hecatean hermetic cottage shadow. Yeah, there's a lot of
I
things. It's
know.
hard
And
to
I've got a
define what
video.
you
I've
are.
got a video coming up on this in a couple of days, and it's called "Which Witch Am I?" Okay, all about my actual putting. I'm trying to put my thoughts on the labels and where I fit in them. So I do.
I
Yeah, I'll
I
expand
think
a little bit more on this.
I used to call myself eclectic
Yeah.
back in the 90s because I took a little bit of everything. But now the reality of it is I believe I'm a chaos switch. I will pull from different aspects,
Hmm.
just whatever I need to pull off my bookshelf, my herb shelf, my stone shelf. I'm doing it.
Yeah. And
If I need to, yeah.
people have said that about me too. They've asked me point blank in comments. Like, "Are you a chaos witch?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe." Because I
Mhm.
talk so much about. Now, I will say that some of the chaos magic books out there are have revolutionized my practice. Um, Not that I would ever. I never have gone out and come out and said that I'm a chaos practitioner, but some of the books that I've read on magic, the way that they think about magic, I guess I would say that if I had to pick something, magic is my religion.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
Point blank.
like, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, because Hecate Sotera is the world's soul. That
yeah,
is life. That is magic. So
yeah.
that is my religion right there.
And
Just
yes, and she's been with me for a lot of that, for a lot of my path.
yes, Heather, that's a very good question. Yes, there is such a thing as an art witch.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And I do practice a little bit of that when I do my resin work because it's so free form. Um, I should make
I
a
do
video
too. I
about
do a lot of art magic actually.
and Selena agrees magic is my religion. Perfectly said. I
Mm,
agree. Perfectly said. All right. Now we've got the lovers. The lovers symbolizes love, relationships, and choices. How have your romantic relationships been shaped by your spirituality? You say that your husband is on board with everything. Before that, how did people react?
He's been my only romantic. He's been my only romantic partner. So in my adult life. So and when I was in high school with the boyfriend thing, I don't consider those romantic partners because we weren't adults. There was limits to what we could do, and we didn't know what it meant to be in a relationship. We were just kind of grabbing onto someone to have fun with him, in my opinion. And having an actual romantic relationship is so much wider and different than I ever thought. But being with my husband for so long, we grew up together, quite literally grew up together, and now we've made the solid commitment to grow old with one another also. So
that is phenomenal.
Willing, okay, universe willing. So I don't know. I mean, in terms of my spiritual practice, I will just continue to do what I do, and sometimes that involves him, because our paths are together. So if we need as a unit, if we need something, and I need to do something magically to, boost us, or hey, let me, let's try this, let's try that. I include him in a lot of that stuff because we're a unit. And so
I married a Christian. He's very Christian, which is funny. It's delicately. It's a delicate balance. For years, I hid who I was. Well, he knew, but I was
still hiding.
I kept it to myself. I didn't have magic around him. Well, we bought a house a long time ago, and there was an extra room, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I turned it into my parlor, where I had all of and I was able to start acquiring my magical items again, my library. I pulled it out of storage, put it out. It was my space. And he didn't like it, but he was on board. And then I got brave and built an altar in the living room.
You just kind of kept expanding.
Yeah, I did. I was just kind of creeping out, and I built an altar in the living room, and for 10 years that altar stayed there in the living room. And then one day, out of nowhere, this is literally how it went. We were in the kitchen. You got to get that altar off of the living room. And I was like, what? He says, you got to take that down. And I said, all right. And I stopped him. I didn't even let him finish. I said, okay. I'm surprised you left it up this long. But
it's faster in him, right?
Yeah, he has always been very supportive of my tarot work. It's like a secret of, my husband does tarot, and he'll spread the word. And it was his suggestion to build my tarot office here at home now.
Well, I'm so glad that you found support in that.
Yeah, as far as the witchcraft side goes, he doesn't understand how deep into it I am. He doesn't understand.
And that's okay, because my husband doesn't either. Okay.
Yeah.
But as long as your boundaries are firm, like when okay, for example, like when I have children, right? They can't just come over and mess with my witchy stuff, especially if I've got something going on. You've got to have firm boundaries. And if they want to keep nudging you about something, that's disrespectful. Mm-hmm. Straight up. No, I have zero tolerance for disrespect. Okay. So we can talk about this. We can have a dialogue about it. But my spiritual practice is not up for debate. Okay. And if I need to do something, I'm not going to get disrespected. I'm not going to get mocked for it. I grew up that way. My mom literally threw away a doll that I had made myself, thinking that I made a voodoo doll.
That it was a puppet.
She literally called it. She was like, I threw away that voodoo doll. I'm like, I made that. It's not a voodoo. I just made
my mom helped me make my first voodoo doll.
Please, she's like burned books that I've bought before. Like it's been a whole. So I lived like that. I grew up that way with that kind of and it was their house, right? You have to respect she had her own boundaries, right? And looking back, I have a better grasp on that, instead of just teenage angst. But I have a firmer grasp and like, well, you know what? She was uncomfortable with this, and it was her house. That's it. And this is
Yeah,
my house. I'm not going to feel uncomfortable about my shit.
I'm
So,
the same way. Yeah.
um,
I want to address what Maru said. I'm not sure what she was talking about here, but sacred clowns and holy fools. I'm what's called a Heyoka empath. Um, I'm and when I say Heyoka empath to people, they don't understand what that is. It's a full-on religious empath. There's a spiritual aspect to it with this. I'm complete with the vision of the Thunderbird, everything. Um, what I tell people, that means I make people laugh when I do my work with them. I heal with laughter. I am a sacred clown. It also means that I am troubled by the emotions of the world around me. So I have to really, really, really shield. And I'm not talking locally. This we're talking bigger. So yeah, I
now
have to work
what tradition is
really
that stemmed in?
Native American.
Okay.
It is something I have to build my boundaries on. And that's why I work with Hermes, the god of boundaries, and Hecate, the lady of transition. I think that without Hermes, I would have killed myself as a teenager. I really do. I couldn't handle my emotions, and I now understand that it was the emotions of the world around me that I was trying to filter. And so now,
and as a messenger, he probably became the Thunderbird wings.
Yeah, all winged creatures are part of his livery, his domain. Yeah, that's a big thing. The other thing Miss Maruta said here was sacred does mean secret. My mom told me as a young'un,
as a young'un,
as a young'un, those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know.
There you go.
And that kind of stuck with me.
Right. Like if you talk about it, then you know less about it. Yeah.
Yeah. People who are just, I call them teeny bopper witches, bubblegum witches. Just scratching the surface of everything. Let's go on with the chariot, which is determination, control, and willpower. Has it been difficult moving forward with your chosen path, and what kind of roadblocks have you faced?
Well, like I said before, we were talking in the beginning in the full card about me transitioning from the religion I grew up in to firmly have a place on the path that I want to walk. That was probably my biggest obstacle. And the continuing obstacle probably is knowing that I can go to my practice, because sometimes I'll let life, go by, and I'll be like, and I'll think back in hindsight, why didn't I go to my practice with this? And I think that, and it has nothing to do really with doubt or willpower. It's more about, I need to have it firmly, like a conviction in my brain. And like I said, if magic is my religion, then I need to be able to set out a practice with it. Because I'm one of those that's a fly by the seat of their pants. I'm more spontaneous with my actual magic workings, and I do like my moon work and things that have like specific times. I'm good with that. I've always had a relationship with the moon, but anything else, it just seemed like it would just kind of happen randomly, and I'd think about something, and I'd be like, okay, I'm pulling all my stuff, here we go, I'm tying some knots, and da 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 da. And it was very spontaneous. And so life would literally pass me by, and I would just not, I would have thought I could have done something with this. I could have lit a candle or something. And so sometimes it drives right past me. Like the chariot drives right past me sometimes. And I'm like stuck there in hindsight going, oh. So that's probably my biggest hurdle, is finding out, really being, convicted in my practice. And because I always want to, and sometimes life or sometimes time is something gets in the way where that thing just drives right past me. And
Life
I'm
happens.
trying to hold on, I'm trying to hold on. They got the little cans on strings, and you're trying to hold on all your might. So
we're now at the strength card, and I debated on this card. I debated on whether to ask you the strength card or the lust card. What I decided on was to let you define what this card means to you.
Okay. Now, I will say that I consider, when I work with a deck that has a strength card, different than a deck that has a lust card. They are different to me.
Mm-hmm.
My strength is quite literally strength. It's a strength. It's a fortitude. But it's mostly, like yours says, it's mostly about courage, but it's courage in the face of something. Okay. Because it's okay to have courage. You can say you have courage and be brave, but it's really not tested. And
practical
so
application.
Yeah. So tested, the strength card for me is about testing your strength and finding opportunities and open the doors, open the windows, whatever you have to open to find those opportunities that will test your strength, to know who you are. That's what strength is to me. But then lust it's more about fulfillment. It's more about embodiment on a cellular level. It's about finding your joy, finding your bliss, and it's about finding the path that will lead you there. And so both.
You got a puppy.
Oh, she is huge. Okay,
what do you have?
She's a Great Dane, Black Lab mix. So she's humongous black dog. But she's loud as hell. So I'm sorry. But yeah, her name's Missy. And she's very, very old and very, very huge and loud. Stop it.
I'm a hound of Hecate, so I'm
Right,
the puppies. I've got 5 dogs. I'm like, puppies.
We only have the one. But yeah, she's been with us for a long time, about 10 years probably.
Wow.
So, but anyway, I don't know what I was saying. So lust is probably about is more about the finding that lust, finding the joy, and it's a practical application also, like with strength, but it's practical finding your bliss. Put yourself on the path that will find that bliss, because you're not going to know what you like until you get out there and try things. So that's probably the main difference between them.
Got it. Let's go on to our next one, which is the Hermit. Introspection, wisdom, and solitude. The question for the Hermit is, how do you, well, we already know your alone time. You said, okay.
Right.
I should have waited to ask you that. Darn it. Now I'm out of order.
No, it's fine. I mean, we talked.
When you look back, let's change it up.
Okay.
When you look back on things in your life, how kind are you to yourself? Because I'm brutal. I look back on myself and I'm working towards being kinder to myself, saying that was situational. You did what you had to do, or, try to understand everything, pick it apart. Are you brutal with yourself, or are you more forgiving?
No, I'm not brutal with myself. I don't let things, I don't know. My dad used to talk to me about my being a rare breed this way, because I don't let things bother me like that. I don't let things that I can't control bother me. I've never really, I don't know. I've never cared. okay, no, that's not what I want to say. I would only have been brutal to myself because of someone else, and that wasn't good enough. And I would never be brutal to myself when it's me. If I'm naked in front of the mirror, it's me and that mirror. Why would I be brutal to myself? Nobody's around. What am I being brutal for? You know? But I mean, yeah, growing up, I'm a little bit more on the heavy side, and I got talked about that,
You're what I call a sexy bitch. Okay. You're the perfect way. Don't give me that shit.
No, I know, but like growing up, I would have family members that would say stuff like, "Did those jeans come in your size?" Or, will you learn to put down the fork, Lennon? And just quirks like that. That kind of, I'm lucky that those kinds of backhanded, passive aggressive comments from my family didn't lead me into bulimia. Okay, I'm lucky.
Yeah, you
But
are.
they really could have. If I had been more susceptible, I could have really had a
Good
traumatic
night, Heather.
experience. But bye, Heather. Thank you for coming. Um, but yes, but I don't, now that I'm so firm into myself, I feel so, the way I see it, when I do have those thoughts, because we all do, the way I see it is that I've earned it. I've earned this body. I've put this body through some shit. Okay.
That's what I say.
I have had 3 children. I have had multiple surgeries. I've had so much things, so, I mean, we've all gone through things. Okay. But you twist it around and you think all the surgeries I did by myself with no one there. I walked in and walked out. Okay. Had a ride, but that was it.
Dang,
Like,
girl.
no one's not like in the lobby with me, holding my hand through it, and all my babies, no medicine, right? I mean, it's stuff like that, right? That I have to look back and tell myself, you've earned the body that you have. Okay, you've earned to be feral, and I embrace that so much, because I think I've put my body through so much that I don't. Why would I want the things that society tells me I should want?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'm doing okay.
I've reached a point. I'm 54, and I don't give a damn anymore. I used to work out. I was a bartender in gay bars. I had a nice body. But that I was a huge kid, and when I lost the weight, I pumped up. Very vain, dude. Very vain. Now I'm an old fart, and I just don't give a shit. The only reason I'm considering going to the gym anymore is for health reasons, not to look good. That is the only reason. I was just talking to Allison the other night about this, that I Aries girl, that I want to start working out to strengthen my health, because I do have serious health issues. It's no secret. People online know I have HIV. I live my life every day like it's the last. I want my words to matter. I want my words to mean something, not only to me, but to other people in the world. So that was a tangent I went off on. Okay.
No, I was enraptured.
I know. By the way, speaking of enraptured, I didn't notice the pomegranate backdrop you have there, High Priestess. That's pretty darn skivvy. I like that.
Yeah, I made that.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's part of my merch line on Society 6. So I have the tapestry. She's the priestess isn't there, but it's the tree of life made out of the pomegranates and moons to look like the tapestry that's behind.
So your head is Tiferet.
So when you're standing in front of it or wrapped in it, you become the priestess, and that was kind of the thing. I've also got the 9 of Swords blanket on there. I've got a couple of tarot and RWS and Thoth related tarot merch, I guess you could say. So
all right, well, we're going to talk about how to get that merch at the end of the video. because I want to know how to get hold of this. The wheel. The wheel symbolizes natural cycles and a change of luck. And the
Mhm.
question I have for you is, can you share a significant turning point in your journey for us? A major, like,
Mm. Well, it would probably, because it probably would have been the moment that I realized I needed. Okay, I'll say this. I'm not a dedicant of a deity, right? But and most of my spiritual practice and my paganism up until a certain point was just that. It was paganism and spirituality and nature and being one with nature and being kind of like the flower child. Okay, that was mostly what it was, with intuition and psychic natural powers. I don't know, weather magic, all kinds of stuff. But
that's
then,
a love with the magic.
yeah, like it was all of that, and then of that I've always had. And then there was a point where I knew I needed a goddess, and I made a video called I Need a Goddess, right? And it was kind of going on that Bonnie Tyler song, like I need a hero, um, where I need a goddess, and I needed it to be for me. I needed it to be, and there were a couple of stipulations that I had. And so I had to have like a band of them. Like I had to make my own band of goddesses because I couldn't find all that I needed out of just one. So I started an abstract deity practice where I would work with this one and I work with this one and I work with this one. And it became this in reality, this dark feminine practice. And that was really a real turning point because then I really started going into um, abstract deity work, working with the goddesses, working with the faces of the divine, and working with them in primordial and feral ways. And that was a real
She's so cute. I haven't even seen her.
She's so loud. You're being so loud. Stop it. Anyway, so that's probably my turning point.
Karen.
Karen, hey. And thank you, Maru. Maru's putting my links in the chat.
Yes,
I
she
appreciate that
is.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny because your dog, I was just about to say, it's okay. Karen has her kids screaming in the background. Everybody loves it. And then Karen pops up and says, hi, everybody. Oh my God, we summoned Karen. That was so cool. Okay.
And I'm actually going to be live with her and Heather tomorrow for Mystic Poet Society. So
that's awesome.
So yeah.
Next up, we have justice, which signifies fairness, balance, and truth. The question for you here is, it's one of those cards that asks if our actions have been in balance. If you could go back and change one thing in your life, what would you change?
No, nothing. No, I have a butterfly effect complex. Okay. I can't do it. Okay. Maybe in my 20s I probably could have come up with something weird, but I do. I have a serious connection with that whole going back in time travel. I have an obsession with time traveling wizards. I know that if I changed anything, even my hair color, I've never even dyed my damn hair, Bobby. I can't think about that because I automatically go to this kind of sci-fi way where I'm like, if I change that, then the whole next 20 years would be different. Okay.
Yeah, I get that. I get the time travel fear thing because my sister and I, ever since we were kids, have been obsessed with the reality of time travel and the butterfly effect. And so, yes, my thing is I make it a practice during my meditative work to send myself warnings and techniques.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a beautiful thing. Now,
I love doing that.
I've had to hold my inner child's hand before and my inner teenager's hand before, okay?
Yeah.
But adding that into your practice, that is so cool.
It is. I got that from a comic book I read when I was maybe 10. This deity sent seeds back in time, and it was just a great story. I can't remember the whole thing, but from that point on, they would send their consciousness back like a guiding spirit. So they were guiding
Yeah.
themselves. They were their own guardian angel, which is something I try to be. I try to
Yeah.
be my own guardian angel, giving myself things.
And okay, let me ask you a question. Okay.
What's that?
So, recently, there might have been a time where you've gotten an intuitive hit, right?
Mhm.
And you felt that it was kind of a guide or a guardian angel. Do you think that was you from the future?
Yes, on many occasions. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, so chills.
Me,
So chills. I love that kind of stuff.
I remember one time, and I just talked about this with somebody. I can't remember who it was, but when I was living a druggie's life back in the 90s, a friend of mine, who I thought was a friend, showed me in his trunk he had a dagger. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And he's like, pick it up. And I went to grab it, and knew, don't pick it up,
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's too nice. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not just making excuses. That was me warning myself. Don't put your fingerprints on that fucking knife.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yes, there's been many occasions when I warned myself, and there's been many occasions when I've called out to my future self for advice.
Yeah.
And in navigating difficult situations. So yes,
I believe, yeah, and I totally believe that time works that way in this kind of fluid way. I mean,
yeah,
so many laws of physics bear us down, but it's just because we don't understand a lot of it yet. Okay.
yeah, I got that. Think about Hecate. She's a triple goddess. She sees past, present, and future.
Mhm.
That's what I try to do in my practice.
Yeah.
Is see past, present, and future. But let's go on.
Okay.
I get so distracted. I try to, because I want to keep it like under a certain amount of time.
Oh, I know.
And I want to give us things to talk about in the future.
Yeah. If we say it all now, then.
All right. So the Hanged Man, surrender, perspective, and sacrifice. Looking back, what advice do you wish someone had given you, and would you have taken it?
Oh, that's such a hard question because
That's why I asked.
I would say that it depends on who was giving the advice, because I know that certain people I didn't if I didn't respect that person or their
Interesting.
there's certain people that I just wouldn't have blindly listened to. I'd had to have a really big respect for them to even listen to their advice to begin with. I mean, if it wasn't like the witch in the woods telling me, then yeah, I'm pretty much going to do it and figure it out on my own. But in terms of like advice, I mean, it probably goes back to the time travel thing. No, I don't know if there was something that someone could have said. I mean, I'm pretty sure I didn't take a lot of advice, but those were probably the times that I needed to have gone. I'll give you an example. Okay, sorry. Let me just give you an example because I'm not putting this in words right. Let's just say
Wood hard.
right. Let's just say that I wanted to go to. This actually happened to an actual friend of mine, not me, but this is an example I'm thinking about. She wanted to go to vet school. Okay. Mm-hmm. But her mom didn't want her to because she knew that she had such a love of animals that she couldn't do the hard things. She wouldn't have been able to like put the animals down, euthanize any of them. Like she wouldn't have been able to do the hard stuff because she had such a love for them. And it was that mom interjecting, right? And so that's kind of how I feel about advice too, is that you still have to go through that so that you would know. Now she's stuck in limbo and she'll never know if she would have been a good vet, because she didn't allow herself. She let those obstacles and that whoever was going to tell her that advice. I mean, I was told constantly that I would, if I wanted to pursue a career in art, that I would just be a starving artist, that I would never make it. And I had such a love for my art that I was willing to just eat ramen for my entire life if that's what it took. But
I've done
it
that.
was like, yeah, I mean, we all have,
Yeah, we
but
all have done that.
it's one of those things. I don't know if I would have. I probably have gotten advice and probably needed to have taken advice, but it really all depends on who that guardian angel was. So,
Yeah. I look at it as when it comes to guardian angels and spirit guides and everything, they bring me the information.
right.
Whether I choose to use it or say it in the way they brought it to me, because sometimes they bring stuff to me that I cannot say on air. um,
Well, or it's not interpreted. You have to like go through. It's like a
yeah,
cipher, and you have to interpret it yourself. And then sometimes you
exactly.
get it wrong. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah,
And
it is. If we got it right every time, we'd be making a lot more money. um,
yeah,
it's true. So, did I get the answer I wanted? Yeah, don't think I would have taken a lot of advice from a lot of people. There's been some good advice, but a lot of it I just poo poo and make my own decision.
yeah.
So, our next question is about death. The death card represents transformation, endings, and rebirth. How do you approach change and transformation in your life?
Well, I'm very open to change. And I have a relationship with death. I have personified it for my practice to help with that even further. Um, I have always had such a love for things that I know that death lives in everything. And so if I'm going to ride the wave of death, I am riding the wave of death. We all are. That we have to
Mhm.
embrace it. We have to embrace it. And it's really about flow, and it's about grace, and it's about understanding, and it's about grief, not meaning that that person is lost. Grieving something doesn't mean that they're lost, and it doesn't mean that they're forgotten. It doesn't mean they'll ever be forgotten, and it doesn't mean that their energy died, because it doesn't. And there's been so many profound times where I've had to learn things like that. And watching death and watching change is really hard. It's one of the hardest things you'll do, right? And watching last breaths and last rites performed. Someone calling in and wanting their last rites read, or calling in and wanting to say that last prayer, or hey, I want to see my estranged sister because I need to see her before I pass. It's like when right? Some of those things are some of the hardest things you'll witness, and I've witnessed them all, mostly. Not all of them, but those examples. And it's all, I think every time I get close to change or to transformation, I think of my feral self, and I think of shape shifting, and how, to be honest, I have incorporated shape shifting into my witchcraft and into my practice in such a way that I consider myself a were creature anyway.
Mhm.
So,
I love that. Me too. That's my spirit shape. I have two, well, three, but one of my shapes is a serpent, one is a dog, and one is a cat. And depending on where I need to go is what shape I shift into, what
oh,
what what vision I need to jump into. Um, what was it I was going to say about death and oh, I remember when you were talking about people dying.
mhm.
It is difficult to watch death. One thing I've always told myself though is if they can go through it, they have to go through this. I can look at it. right? If I'm with somebody who's in pain, they're the one who's in pain. If they can deal with that, I can deal with the pain of looking at them.
Yeah.
If they are in the depths of despair and can't find their way out, I can look at them and I can look at their situation and I can help them out of it, hopefully.
Mm.
So being able to stare change and death in the face, turn it to your advantage, everybody. That's
Yeah.
um, death is the great equalizer. It comes for all of us. And it's been on my mind a lot lately because I was sick for about a month recently. I had COVID and then back to back bouts of the flu and then COVID. So I was really weak and not well.
Mm.
And when that happens, I get terrified that this
Yeah.
is it,
Yeah.
because once that slope goes, you start going down it. For me, it's very dangerous. So, death has been on my mind a lot lately. And Ramon, Moon Scarab,
Hmm.
follows Santa Muerte, which
Yeah.
is
Listening. Yeah.
death with the possibility of rebirth.
Right.
So death is really part of my world. It is. I live with it. I don't plan on dying anytime soon. I'm way too busy. I got shit to do up for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm all about acceptance. Also, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm glad I'm around too, Madhu. Thank you. Temperance. Temperance is about healing, balance, emotion, moderation, and harmony. Um, I love it because it's a survivor's card. Was there ever a point in your life where you just didn't think you were going to make it? Where you just were lost?
Okay. So is the question about like my spiritual life? Like, what have I been, was there a time I was lost spiritually, or um, just in general, just in life?
Just in general.
Um,
Like for me, when I found out about my health, I didn't
mhm.
think I was going to make it. I just thought, that's it. I'm going to stay in this spot on the bed and not move. And just, has that ever happened to you?
Probably, well, the year my dad died, I I got pregnant after. Okay, so just for context, I have two teenagers, right? My husband and I have two teenagers. They're 17 and 15. So, okay, we're not dealing with babies right now anymore. And I got pregnant, and it freaked me out, freaked him out. I mean, as much as you can be freaked out about something like this, okay? When but it still kind of freaked me out because I really thought, to be honest with you, I thought that I was too old. Let's just be real. I thought that my body has gone through two pregnancies. I've been, almost 20 years without being pregnant, never any hiccups or issues. So I didn't really think, I just kind of thought my body knew that it was just over the hill when it came time to that. No. So we got pregnant, and then right after that, my dad got sick, and we didn't really understand at the time what his sickness was. But he was in and out of the hospital, and then like 2, maybe 3 months later, he was gone, and I was carrying a child,
Uh,
and it was this grief over the top of, like, my dad got sick, and then not even 4 months later, he was dead. That's not a lot of time to kind of wrap your head around that. And so I was but I was pregnant, and I was thinking, how am I supposed to grow a freaking life and you're dead? What, like, I was like talking to him like, you're dead. How am I supposed to do this? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to be grief ridden and elated because I'm pregnant, Not to mention all the other hormonal things you have going on.
yeah.
So that was probably one of those times I really had to balance it out. I had to balance my grief with the beauty, and taking care of myself, because you have to, because I could have easily gone malnourished from not eating.
Yeah.
And I could have balled myself up in the fetal position, but then the baby would have died. I would have had more health issues, and it wouldn't have solved anything for me to have done that. So
Of
I had
course.
to take care of myself and find a way to grieve him.
I'm
In a,
glad you found your way.
yeah, I mean, and it was really really hard to find my way through the grief along with growing life. So that was probably one of the hardest. I mean,
Wow.
to date, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So
That's terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm glad that the pregnancy worked out well and that you
yeah.
got your babies.
Hmm.
Um, let's move on to the next card,
Okay.
which is the devil card. Temptation, materialism, control, um, illusion. What was the hardest thing you ever had to break free of?
I don't have I don't know. I don't have an addicting personality. So if ever I had to let something go, I was completely okay with doing it cold turkey. Um,
Wow.
I've I've had to do it a couple of times. I've had to literally. My dad used to do this. He would, because I would do something and I'd be like, no, I don't have to do that again. And he would be like, here goes Lennon, here goes Lennon. And it was this weird thing, that quirk that he had about me, because I could literally just, if it was like a person, like if it was a person or a situation or something like that, I could literally just cut them out of my life. I or cut that thing out, or never do that thing again. It never bothered me to just snip it and go. Which again is kind of weird, because sometimes you want to. It's not always fun to burn the bridges, because then you really can't go back.
Yeah.
But I was always pretty bad about burning bridges and just
Well,
going.
that's my favorite saying is when somebody says, well, what if? I'm like, I'll burn that bridge when I cross it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I've done quite a few things where I've had to just, like, I mean, I don't even know. I've never even been into anything besides probably my spiritual practice, where I would have needed or gotten addicted or anything like that. I've never experienced things like that. So I guess I'm kind of lucky.
Good. I'm like,
Uh,
good. The the life I led was fueled by addiction. That was but when hold on. Maru wants to know, what's your sun moon rising?
I am an Aquarius, Pisces, Leo.
Oh my god, really?
Yep.
Okay. So
Very, very airy, very airy.
very airy,
Very, very up here. Very up here.
but that Leo energy kind of
Yeah.
makes a little bit of explosion at times, I would assume.
Which I know that my Leo rising is the reason I have my YouTube channel. Okay. Because if I didn't have my Leo rising, I would literally be sitting in a lawn chair looking at clouds all day. Like, let's just say I had another air sign in my rising, I would literally be a vegetable. I would just be like this. I would just be in my own head, not doing anything with my life. Um, but that's just how I feel. Like, I want to think about things and be off out of the wall. And that's definitely my Aquarius, Pisces. But my Leo really makes me want to project it, and to tell people, to share it, to share what I found. What I
I'm
found.
a Leo. I'm made to be seen by people. I
Yeah.
can't I can't
Aren't we?
help it. I'm designed to be on stage. I was a karaoke host. I mean, I'm just out there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
All right. So our next card is the Tower. This is upheaval, sudden change, and revelation. I almost said revolution. Um, how do you
That
deal
too.
with yeah, that too. What's your advice for handling those Tower moments?
Okay, so I did years and years ago, I talked about this on the channel. Um, when I know, and it's hard to know when you're inside one, okay? But when you know that it's a tower moment, flick the thing onto the ground, the whole tower onto the ground, okay? And then you shine a flashlight inside of it. Turn around, okay? Knock the thing down and turn around and then act like a flashlight and just turn yourself into a Nancy Boy, okay? Or Nancy Drew, one of the
Hardy Boys.
Hardy Boys,
Yeah.
yeah, Hardy Boys, um, Harriet the Spy, whatever. There are moments, small moments, okay? And how I consider this is that if you looked at the tower card, the tower looks like a big tower of folly. It's not attached to a castle, okay? It's just one lone tower with some windows. The windows
Mhm.
are those small parts, okay, that are that make up the tower moment. And you've got to become the flashlight to figure out what those little things are, and you have to go to them. You have to turn around and face the fear of them, and that the only way. And then once you're inside the tower, the light from you being the flashlight is shining out of those little windows, and that's what makes the star card, the next card.
Ooh, I'm loving that.
So you have to be your own investigator. Okay. When you are inside of a tower moment, it is freaking hard. It is freaking catastrophic. It feels like you've hit rock bottom. Okay. And you have. But guess what? You're a flashlight. You can go through the rubble. You can investigate and figure out exactly what went wrong. You have to
I,
become an investigator.
I do something similar with a tornado. I
Mm,
picture that, yes, the world is all fuckered up around me and it's just blowing around crazy, but I'm in the center.
in the
I'm
eye. Yeah.
calm. I'm in the eye. I'm
Mhm.
calm. I can stop the tornado and then I can look at the flying pieces.
Mhm.
So,
Same thing. Yep.
same
Same
type of thing.
thing. Same thing.
Same type of thing, different method. I love it. I
Yeah.
love that. That's awesome. All right, so let's go on with our next question. I think that's probably the favorite answer that anybody's ever given on my show. I love that.
Oh.
The star signifies hope, inspiration, and renewal. Looking back, who would you say was your guiding light?
Uh, mm. Well, me and my dad are so similar. Or we were, we were so similar in terms like this. We are mind over matter people. But I had this grandmother figure that wasn't related to me, but she was my neighbor, and she had such a way. And she was already like so much older. She was a grandmother age to my age, right? And so she, for all intents and purposes, she became my grandmother figure. And there was something about the way that she approached life, okay, that was very, very different than any of the other people I'd known in my life. Um, she just approached it with this kind of effervescence and this joy and this. I mean, and I didn't even know until I was much older that she had gone through multiple cancers, multiple remediations, multiple betrayals by, she stayed with her husband and he was an alcoholic, and he was, and, a verbal abuser. I mean, there was all kinds of things that came out when I figured out who she really was. Like, cause she had had a whole life before I was even born, you know? And I didn't hardly know about that part of her. And I thought, how the hell is she just standing there being her best self? Okay. After all this crap, how can she do this? She just goes about her day. She feeds her animals. She basically had like a farm that I lived next door to. Like we had goats and chickens and turkey at one point, and all kinds of dogs and cats. And my sister and me grew up with animals and trees. Okay. And she just had this zest, I guess, for life that she kept until she died. And she was probably a guide on how she was what I wanted to be. She was my witch in the woods that I always am aspiring to be. I would always want to go for her for advice. And her advice was so richly given. It would never feel like she was giving advice, ever. She would say something like, well, I did blah 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 blah. And it wouldn't even be like she was listening, okay? And then you get some kind of epiphany and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you'd run off and do whatever the hell you thought you came up with it on your own. But she was sitting there like this.
Mm-hmm.
It was something like that. It was just the way she talked. And she used to tell me the best advice I got from her, actually, to go back to another question, was you can say anything to anyone. It's how you say it. You can tell someone that they look ugly in that dress, but it's how you say it.
That's a
And
cornerstone of my tarot reading practice. You could
yes,
say anything, it's how you say it.
yeah. And it can be really bad news. It can really be sad news. It can be news that is going to hurt their feelings. You can say anything. It's how you say it.
Uh,
It's such a
people
love behind that.
people during tarot readings say, just spit it out. And I tell them no, because if I spit
No,
it out, it's not going to help anybody. Allow me a
right.
chance
You're
to
gonna,
word
yeah,
it.
you're gonna clam up if I
Give
just
me a
spout it out.
chance to word it properly. Yeah. Everybody says they want it, the bare truth
No, they don't.
on a plate. They don't. Okay. And they really, really don't. All right. I've made it a point.
Have you seen The Devil's Advocate, the movie?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
that's an old movie.
There's this scene in the train where Al Pacino literally tells the guy, okay, look, while you're trying to knife me, your girlfriend's up there getting busy with the neighbor, okay? Maybe you should. And it's like that. Like, I don't want that kind of stuff just blasted at me like that.
There's a reader here in town where I live, who is pretty much on the outs with the entire spiritual community because her technique is brutal when she reads, and she's not very good either. But she says things like, well, this is the one that sticks in my mind. Well, your husband is dying, so you need to start looking for who you're going to be with next. That type of thing. Okay,
That's bad brutality, not good
that's
brutality.
bad brutality. Okay, and boundaries. It's just I get so that.
No.
um Bad psychic, bad. uh Now we have the moon, which represents illusions, dreams, and the subconscious. How do you deal with enemies? I stick them in the freezer.
Uh, um, how do I deal with enemies? Um,
Or is people who
I
could
don't
be
know if I've actually
classified
had any.
as, yeah, I didn't think you did, but
Well, here's the thing. I don't consider, even if someone were an enemy, I don't consider them that. They consider themselves that. Like if someone were to attack me or something, verbally or otherwise, I don't know. I don't necessarily feel like I would think that they're an enemy. It would all be on them. I don't know how to explain that.
enemies was probably a poor choice of word.
No. Most people think of enemies in that
Well,
way.
the moon card does deal with hidden enemies.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, good old freezer spell. Absolutely. I don't suffer idiots in my life. I really don't. If you are somebody who's just going to give me shit about my practice, about my business, because this is my licensed business.
Right.
If you're going to give me shit about how I live my life, who I'm living my life with, I will put you on the outside of my boundaries. And if you don't respect my boundaries, that's when I'm in my room looking at the shelves on what exactly am I going to do to you.
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
and
luckily I've never had to do that though. So
okay, well that's good. I'm seeing in the chat people are like, yeah, okay. The Sun card. Now we're into joy, success, and vitality. What brings you joy, and how do you celebrate your successes? You've got a lot of books that you've done. How do you celebrate?
um Well, I mean, not any kind of outward expression, but I give myself a chance to be happy that even in my nervousness, because I'm always nervous to put something else out, a new deck, a new book, I'm so nervous to put that out into the world, those creative endeavors. But I know that I'm still happy in some respect that they're out. And I do feel like my creative endeavors are like my children, and that I'm kind of sending them off to fulfill their destinies. And those destinies don't involve me. They have a piece of me in them, but once a book hits someone's house or once a deck gets mailed to someone, that's that deck's destiny to have been a part of me, to come out of me, be a brain birth of mine. But their destiny is separate than me. And it's now that relationship between that person and that creative endeavor. So, but I do love to, I like to think about what I've accomplished. I've even added my Immaculate Immortality to my Hecate portion of my sacred space in honor of her. And so I do little things like that. The little things are what catches my eye when it comes to happiness. And art is my motto. I will art. That's my life motto. I will do art. And I've always done art. I will continue to paint and to draw and to write poetry, and I will continue to be and to do art.
You're gonna laugh
And
if I tell you what my motto is.
what?
Because there used to be a song, I can't even remember who it did, but part of the chorus was "Make it happen." So that's my mantra. That's my motto. Make it happen. Just get on it. Uh, Amethyst says, "I love Immaculate Immortality. Use it every Monday. It's wonderful." Yes, the
Yeah,
link.
Rochelle, she talks about her practice with it, and she does her digital journals on her channel,
Uh,
and does some cool things with some tarot and my poetry. So much, so much love for the support, Rochelle.
we have a great community. I just love our YouTube community, and um, oh, I'll talk to you about it afterwards. That's well, it's something that really doesn't need to be aired on air. So, judgment symbolizes rebirth, judgment, and an inner calling. Um, if they were creating a movie about your life experiences, what would it be called? Mine would, honestly, I think I would name your story "The Witch in the Woods" because you keep making reference to it.
And some subconscious level, it probably would be that. Or I would probably, and see, The Witch in the Woods, I'd want to be more feral than that. So it would probably just be called Primordial. Or, right. But it would have like a horror thriller movie poster look. But no. Sorry, scratch that. It would probably be a small town poster, like you were reading a small town witch story. Small town, maybe thriller, maybe suspense, maybe some classical music overtures in the beginning. I don't know.
It's just got the whole intro going. I was like, I love the way your mind works. This is fabulous.
Yeah, I think I don't think I've ever thought about it before, but it would be simple lines, simple clothes. It would kind of be a mixture of Nicolas Cage, Wicker Man, and Midsummer, but also The Witch, but modernize the clothing, take away the puritanical nonsense, and maybe make that into my childhood, and then turn it into a small town romance where there's like a midnight train to Georgia plan or some shit. And I don't know, like I could. My movie would be boring though. All right, like if someone
I highly doubt
life,
that.
it would be kind of boring.
I highly doubt that. I think that you think it may be boring, but no. Oh, Maru, when you put that Witch on a Mountain as a title, when I was a kid, one of the first movies I remember seeing was Escape to Witch Mountain. Do you
Hmm.
remember that movie?
I think so. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
started a lot of shit in my life. That movie right there, it
Yeah.
really did. So I blame Disney for my witchcraft. Um, the next question we have is our final card. And oh, you definitely see that Leo rising. Yeah.
Did you not know that, Rochelle? I thought you might have known that about me before, but um,
The world represents completement, achievement, and fulfillment. Uh, it's a great big world out there. Where would you most like to visit and why?
oh, so many places. I have such a huge wanderlust. My husband and I both have. We know, okay, we know. We don't just hope, but we have. We've always had a dream of visiting Scotland. We actually want to live there. Where my husband's family's from there in a generational sense. Uh, we have such a love for the misty landscape. We need a lot of room because of who we are, and so we feel like we can get a lot of breath work there, that we the breathing room that we need. But so I want to visit Scotland for sure. And mine, I want to see the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain and in France. I want to see the Pyrenees. I want to maybe see a little bit of some Istanbul, Constantinople. I would like to see some Moroccan themes in real life. Uh, and I think I like some of the exotic places, but there's so many places in the world that it always makes me feel guilty because there's so many beautiful places in the US that I know that I'd probably go to Europe before I even look at like Yellowstone National Park or you know
Yeah.
the Grand Canyon. Like there's so many places in the US that I want to see
I
that.
think I would like to live in Greece
Mm,
or a nice little village in England.
yeah,
A nice, quiet, little accepting village of witches. That'd be awesome.
that
Oh,
would be so awesome. But I know that I would have to live in some kind of like Dorsetshire, something with some land. I couldn't live in like a house that had a house right next to it. Like I
would it
don't.
be cool to live in hobbit houses?
I
That would
know that would
be
be cool. My husband
great.
would have a blast doing that. He
I
would
would
love
do that.
that.
Heartbeat,
Um,
I would do that.
and he actually wants to build one of those. Like he was like, "What if we just mound up the house?" And I'm like, "Well, then we live in a hobbit hole and nobody else."
I'm not gonna lie, the topic has come up between me and my
Yeah,
husband
us
about the
too.
backyard. Because if
And
I'm
then
gonna
when we
have
thought,
my own, we have a huge backyard here at the house, and if I'm
yeah,
gonna build my own studio in the backyard, why not a hobbit hole underground? So
right, right.
I'm considering it. All right, that was our last card. Now, ladies and gentlemen watching, oh, you're in Wales, Garnet. Oh, uh, well, hello from the desert. Now, Lennon, where are you at?
I'm in the southeast of the U.S. I'm in Georgia.
Georgia. Oh, you,
Georgia.
you really got that midnight train to Georgia going.
Yeah, that's why I said
We got
that.
two. We got two different types of southern accents going right
Where are
now.
you from? Where are you from?
I'm in Arizona.
Hmm.
Um, Arizona
Hmm.
is
You
beautiful
did
out.
say that. I don't know why I didn't
Yeah,
remember.
I'm by Tombstone.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it is cool. You go down to see the gunfights and everything. Um, if anybody has questions for my dear guests tonight, please post your questions now while she tells us what she has coming up. And Manu posted the link for your merch too.
Oh, thank you, Mana. Um, well, I have a couple of books coming out in this spring. Uh, uh, I don't know of any decks that I've got coming out because I'm working heavily on my book. 'Cause I'm working on multiple books at once. Like I said, I've got about 5 coming out this year. But
Hmm.
the first one of the year, or the one I'm working on now, Carpe Magica just came out.
I
That's
saw.
a poetry book. That just came out in February. And then I've got one coming out on Beltane, a poetry book. And then another one that's kind of meditative, and it's poetry and meditations. It's coming out the first day of the summer solstice, so June 20th. And I go on the wheel of the year to help me keep up
I
with
noticed
deadlines.
that. Your
Yeah.
release dates. I'm like, I'm sensing a pattern here.
Yeah, I like to go because it keeps me, because I self-publish, I don't have any like agent bearing down my neck about deadlines, but I like to have my own deadlines. Now, I don't have to keep those deadlines, but my own brain, I have to.
Yeah.
So I keep my own deadlines and I say, okay, well, I can work on these, then I'll get done with that and let it slide and then upload that, and that's for sale now. And then I'm working on this one, and I have a weird post-it note schedule when it comes to my things. So I've got some cool videos coming out this month on my, working with my which is Black Lint, and working on a couple of some witchcraft videos that I have to come out, and also one on the tarot that is coming out this week, and it's called I've Got Nothing to Say, and it's literally about being on TarotTube and not having bought a deck in a long time, and not made a deck in a long time, and feeling kind of dissociated because I didn't have anything to do a walkthrough with. I kind of felt like, oh shit, I don't have a tarot video to put out, so
Good night,
I
Rochelle.
must be crazy, you know. So so I do, yeah. So I've got a couple of things coming out soon.
That's awesome. Okay. It
Bye,
doesn't look
Michelle.
like we have any questions, so I'm
That's
going to
okay.
go ahead and end this. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes.
I
Oh
know. I can hear my
goodness.
baby and my husband back there. They're like, we're
Right.
hungry.
Okay, I'm gonna release you now so you can go tend to the loved ones. And everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. I really am gonna go back and watch this and replay again because it's just been fantastic talking to you. Stick around and we'll talk backstage, okay? Good
Okay.
night, everybody.
Bye.
See you
Thanks,
next time.
everyone.